doing this. You know what I mean? Like I'm holding like a.
All right,
Yeah, this is.
man. You got it. Why you guys put that thing on there? It looks weird.
Well, no, because when I'm.
Hey, take that
Oh
thing
shit!
off.
Oh, no, you just listen to me.
Hey, you're sharing the mic with Bryce, so
Don't you-
take that off.
I
It looks
know,
dumb.
I know. I told him it's fine. We can take it off, but check it out. All right. This is what I'm saying. Like when I'm no, when I'm no. This is what I'm saying. When I had it, when I'm like listening to people like this, it feels weird because
Hey, talking to the mic, bro. Talking to the
bullshit.
mic. James, you
Your
never
headphones
talking
are-
to the
Your
mic.
headphones are down and you're fucking deaf because I'm talking into the mic. Okay. So
No more hubbity hubbity, you know what I'm saying?
Benedict Cumberbatch. I'm ready.
Benedict Cumberbatch, okay.
Yeah. Anyways, you
As
got
long as
anything
you're
about to say
talking
about
into
that?
I was got the Tokyo shirt on today.
Stunning.
You look just like you looked at the Hemp Fest.
Thanks
Killing
for
it.
shouting that out.
Killing
guys
it.
were
Oh, I'm
saying-
sorry, man. I'm not trying to put your whole outfit out there on blast or nothing, you know?
You got one of my outfits on blast.
Hey, I'm not trying to just keep you on blast, you know? But, all right, guys. We're going to go
Rolling.
live in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the third installment of the Modest Humanity podcast.
Welcome.
What's up?
Today we've got the what's that?
Sharing a
What you
mic over
saying?
here.
All right, today we've got the usual squad back in it for another round, as well as our first guest appearance. Pretty baller. We're moving up in the world, if you guys haven't noticed. So, going down the line, I'm just gonna start off. We got James Bullman. He goes by King James Sideways 8. He's a solo artist, rapper. You know, he's moving up in the world right now. He's gonna have a single coming out here real soon. To the left of him, we got Bryce Beasley.
Dope
He goes
single.
by Dancing Stone. He's also a solo artist. He's also the frontman of Modest Ra.
Hello.
Yeah, at the very end, we got Jesse Fulbright, is Captain Oasis. He's a recording artist and a multimedia specialist. He's the man that makes all this happen with the video work.
Man.
We're just leveling up each time. He puts a smile on my face when I see it come together. So props to Jesse Fulbright. I'm Paul Renkin. I go by Marlon Roos. I'm the host of the Modest Humanity podcast and the producer of Modest Raw. And then our guest today is Mr. Brandon Brooks. He's the CEO and co-founder of Ascended Genetics. It's as cool as it sounds. Trust me, he'll tell you about it. You can look him up at Ascended Genetics on Facebook and Instagram. So, how's everybody's week, man? Good.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being
to
here,
have you.
Brandon. It's
Yeah,
good to
thank
have
you.
you. We were
My
talking.
pleasure.
We were talking to Brandon before setting the podcast up, and this he knows what he's talking about. You know, he was really kind of putting us to shame with our knowledge on a lot of things. You know, so
Oh,
yeah.
I'm blushing over here. Thank you.
Well, cool, man. Well, let's kind of jump into it. I just want to talk about the last week where everybody's kind of been at, what you guys have been up to. I want to start with James. How
Yeah.
you doing, man? What you been
I'm
up
doing
to?
good. I've been super busy. Working on a bunch of songs and ideas. Also been doing some side work. Painting some more. Getting that out. Just finished up my last cipher. I put that out there. It wasn't too much, just to get something out there. So yeah, I've been pretty busy besides work, and I was actually a little bit sick for a little bit, but I'm over that and I'm ready to get back to it. So
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
If
doing
you,
man.
if you guys haven't seen James Bullman's Ollie Dominique cipher, I would recommend taking a look at it. He gave him number 14.
Number
but that,
14?
No,
Nah.
number 14. He just don't like James. That's
Nah.
what I'm pretty sure it is
Nah, he
because
don't
I
like him.
looked at the guy ahead of James and it wasn't good.
bad.
It
I
wasn't
watched
good.
every single
time.
one of
I
them.
watched all of them, and James was in the top 5 without a doubt. I think it was in the
Yeah.
top 3 for sure. But yeah, no,
I think
definitely.
I think he's mocking me, bro. I think
Mocking
that's what
you
it-
just don't
yeah.
like. You just
Just-
don't
just
like
keep-
looking
You
at
even
you.
shouted out his shoes in it, bro. Like,
He
what?
even threw a sponsor in and
Yeah.
still didn't get on the top 5. What is
Just
this?
keep doing your
Yeah.
thing, bro.
I'm just, hey,
Just
I'm
keep
not
doing it.
like I said to Paul earlier. I'm not really worried about it because I know what I'm worth, and so I don't need anybody's opinion. I don't need anybody's what's the word for it?
Validation?
Validation. I don't need to be
That's it.
verified by anybody. I'm me. That's what I am. So
That's cool, man.
yeah.
Just moving up.
yeah.
So Bryce, what's up, man? I know
What's
I want to hear
happening?
about this conclusion to Sunday 16. I mean, I was there, but I do want to. I think you should tell the people, how you felt.
It was a weird day, man. I mean, we went up to Uptown Sedona, and we were just kind of looking for a power supply, a place to plug in up there. We finally found one after going up and down the block for a while, and we just set up camp, and it was cool that like a store owner actually came out and allowed us to perform. You know,
Yeah, but he didn't look like he wanted us to at the same time.
Yeah, he kind of looked skeptical. He was like, "Yeah, you guys can do this, I think."
Yeah, he was like, as long as it don't get too loud, I just don't want it to be too amplified.
I told him to. I was like, man, it'll only be like a 5-minute video because I already knew it wasn't gonna go over well, you know. So yeah, it was. So he let us play in front of his shop. And as soon as we started playing, people just started running away because it was. I mean, it was just like
the opposite of what they wanted. They
want some blues, like some chill vacation love music or something through the air. You know, something that they know, some classics. They don't want to hear some revolutionary.
It's
cutting
a game
edge.
that you lose when you play to consume.
Yeah, they don't want to hear that.
They don't want to hear the conscious hip hop.
Nah.
They didn't want to hear that revolutionary because it was all about consumerism out there, knocking it down.
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's Sedona in general. I
We're,
feel like
we're sitting in front of an art shop selling pieces for $3,000, talking about consumption being the fall of America. You know what I mean? Like that's what it was.
Going over too well.
It didn't go over too. But the people that were coming by, though, you got to admit, the people who were rolling by, like in that bus, you know, they were feeling it. They were like, "This is awesome."
They were kind of grinning.
They were.
Yo, this is next level. You know, that's kind of the feel I was getting. But they couldn't. They weren't. They're not. People aren't accepting of like new things. I feel like you know, like when it's like first coming into the world, like you gotta warm them up to it. I feel like we went full intercourse.
No, we did.
Like it was just straight.
Just say you got to give them
foreplay.
It's got to be like just enough like memorable. You know what I'm saying? Like something they're kind of used to, and then you drop all that new stuff on top of it, and then they can accept it. But we just went in with the new. You know what I mean? We just went in raw. We were just like, it's what we got, and they, it was. They were. I could definitely tell.
What I was thinking about that was too when you guys were talking about it. That song that you performed was for Elephant, and I just kind of had the image of you guys were like the elephant in the room, like no one could have not seen you. Or heard you driving by.
That's funny, bro.
It just came to me, bro. That's what I just thought of. So
that's definitely how it went, man. That's definitely how it went. Well, cool, man. Yeah, Jesse, man, what's up? What's been up with your week, man?
Vlogging, you know, just getting that vlogging down.
He's doing work.
That last one was tight, bro.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I
bro.
felt like I was right there. And this, by the way, this Modest Raw video that you recorded for us for the elephant, I like you like got me kicking a rock. Like you got like a lot of real life kind of feel in it, and I don't feel like I haven't seen that anywhere. You know? So I feel like you're really developing your style.
So what's funny with that kicking the rock thing, I didn't plan any of that. But if you watch that first vlog, when I walk out of the door right here, I kick a rock. So I feel like that's like the running theme right now is just kicking rocks, Kicking Rocks Productions.
Yeah,
Kicking
Rocks. I mean? So,
that should be the sound of the next one you do, bro. Just kicking rocks.
I've been thinking about it.
Hey, man, Lindsay was here yesterday, and she was like, Jesse's videos are getting awesome. So I was putting a song with her together. We were working on, one of her songs that she had written, and I told her, I was like, you should get Jesse to do some video work.
Heck yeah,
I said,
man.
if we finish this song up, get him to do a video for it. I said, I think it'll go a long way.
Yeah.
Because you just been doing, like, you're just leveling it up. You know what I mean?
Just learning every day, man.
And the cool thing about what you're doing is like it's visual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's undeniable because you see it with your eyes. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
you know?
I just
definitely.
got done filming one today. Right before.
Oh, cool.
That's why I drove away for like 10 minutes. So I had to go finish something up. But yeah, it's just been a lot of fun, honestly.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to. I think I've told you guys this before. I've always wanted to make videos, but just never really like started anywhere. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
Even
You
if
just
it's
gotta
on your
dive in.
phone.
It's
I
a
know
commitment,
you were
too.
talking about how good phones are these days and the cameras on those. If that's all you have, like start there.
For
You
sure.
know, if you're like, oh, I don't have a DSLR or a mirrorless camera or whatever to like make vlogs. Like if you have a phone in your pocket that's from like 2012 on, like you're pretty much there. In my
dive
opinion.
in.
Like most phones these days are pretty high tech. So
Yeah, they got good resolution, everything, you know?
yeah.
Everything, man. Yeah. Well, I'll just talk about myself here for a moment. I just got back from South Carolina, as you guys know. Learned a lot about the South and some family stuff. I got family that goes back. I got like Confederate soldiers in my family. I went to
Wow.
the family graveyard. Yeah, it was cool, man. I was like,
awesome.
whoa. I was like, I didn't even know. You know, so I had a lot of Bojangles while I was out there. Which you guys have heard me talk about Bojangles.
Bojangles.
Anybody don't know about what Bojangles is? It's just kind of like fast food diabetes, if you want it, you know. And everybody in the South eats it, you know. So
That's 5-star fast food, bro.
it's not 5-star. It's like people who are going on a diet from Bojangles go to KFC.
Damn.
You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? Like that's the rice bowl has like 1,300 calories there. It was like the leanest thing they had on their menu. I was like, damn, this is something. But yeah,
Not
just-
even a salad, bro.
man. Sony had the salad. It still looked fattening. When I got back, and then we just kind of crushed out that modest. What is it? The Sunday 16 video, the elephant. Just 3 days of pumping that one out, and then just had the little weekend. Just did a little rehearsing, and then Lindsay came by yesterday. Lindsay McCrossan. She's gonna come on here at some point too. She's really excited about coming on here, but.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed the session yesterday, man.
Oh no, it's cool. Yeah, Lindsay is killer. You guys, when you guys hear Lindsay McCrossan with her original stuff, you'll really be feeling it because we don't have a lot of artists like her, you know. And she
Very
really
soulful.
Sure.
wants to keep it raw to the earth, you know. Do music the way that it had been done, you know, prior to all this overproduct. We talk about this every podcast, just all this overproduced music, but she really wants to get back to the core of it, you know. And I think that fits right in line where we're at, and a lot of people are kind of finding themselves, you know, right now with listening to music. I feel like everybody just kind of wants raw music now, you know. So
No, I agree with that. I mean, for example, I like the Black Keys a lot, and
Yeah.
like their earlier
Nice.
stuff was like I feel like some of their best stuff was all garagey and like, you know, just that raw, that primal sound, you know.
for sure.
And then as you know, they now they got more studio time and more production work and everything, and they got more band
Yeah.
members, and it still sounds great, but the old stuff is my favorite.
My man
Yeah,
Brandon over here, we were
Yeah.
jamming before we you know, set this all up. He and I went in the studio. We were playing some guitar. And he just busted it out, started singing a song, playing on the guitar. Like he was like, "Oh, I'm not really like much of a guitar player. I'm like a rhythm guitar player." He just busted it out. I didn't know what to expect, but he just started
Natural.
singing. He didn't hold back. He was just like, "I'm just gonna do my thing right now," and
I
he
thought
didn't
that
care.
was you in there.
He
didn't
sound
care.
like Paul.
Yeah, he
That
was
was
getting
me.
it. He
Nice.
just dove right in. He didn't need anybody's permission. I was more nervous than him. He just went in and started playing. I was like, this guy is awesome,
We
man.
got a
So-
beautiful studio, a great guitar. That Stratocaster is great.
Oh man, that's my baby.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
got a kill switch on it too. I don't know if you saw the little button.
No,
It's
no,
got a kill.
really?
Yeah, I put a kill
Nice.
switch on
That's
it.
like
got all the-
Buckethead, right?
Like
kill
he's
switches
got
on it.
one,
Yeah,
Tom
yeah.
Morello, yeah.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool, man. I got like my dream rig right now, so I'm really happy about what I got going on in there. But yeah, just upped it. But Brandon, man, you are an interesting guy, man. You walked
Oh,
in
thank
today
you.
and you're a real nice guy, and you came in and just started talking about, I don't even know how we got you on the topic, but I could tell that you really know what you're talking about when it comes to like the marijuana and the hemp business right now. Just kind of give
Yeah.
us like a little background on how you got started and like what led you to kind of be like an enthusiast.
Yeah,
you know?
sure. I think, you know, I tried recreationally, you know, cannabis when I was like 19 or whatever, and honestly had it offered to me before, but my mom and everything was actually did talk to me, and I listened. She was like, "Your brain's still developing. Wait till you're like out of high school to experiment with things." And I think because of that conversation, I did wait, you know.
Yeah.
And like I tried alcohol way before that. I was drinking in high school and all that stuff, you know. But after I smoked, you know, cannabis, I kind of quit drinking. I still don't really drink that much to this day. You know, but yeah, I guess I always, when I was younger, I was in Indiana with my grandfather. He would take me out to the garden, talk about nature and being self-sufficient and all that. And then once I hurt my back in a car accident, I got a pinched sciatic nerve. And then once I understood that cannabis helped alleviate that pain, I got off of all those like prescription drugs they were trying to prescribe you for, like Percocets and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, they just put you in that brain fog and everything, and I just didn't like the way they made me feel, nauseated all the time and stuff. So when I found relief with cannabis, doing the same thing, that and doing some yoga, I do inversion therapy, hang upside down too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
I tried it. I want to get a table, but it just takes up a lot of space, you know?
It does, yeah, but like I just mine's outside actually, underneath like area, so
Oh,
it's
yeah.
out of the house. But you know, I used to do it every day, but now I just kind of do it probably like 3 times a week, kind of, or if I feel like I need it, you
Yeah.
know. And that's the only thing that can totally takes away the pinch sciatic nerve pain
Wow.
completely. But the cannabis helps mitigate the pain to make it where I can feel it, but it doesn't bother me. I can live my life and be productive.
That's
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then then I started to read about how cannabinoids help kill cancer cells, and then I had, growing up, I had 3 close family members die from cancer. Really more
man.
cancer treatment, to be honest with
Wow.
you, than cancer itself. They died from the allopathic medical treatment of cancer,
Wow.
chemotherapy, and surgery, radiation, which is the only 3 options you can get in America. That's the only, if you go to an oncologist, they can only give you 3 options: chemotherapy,
Wow.
radiation, or surgery.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
they can't even tell you like nutrition. If they do, they risk
Oh.
losing their license, going to jail, and getting heavily fined. So, and after they spend all that money getting their doctor's license, and they're not going to put that up on the table for they don't even tell you about nutrition, which honestly that should be like one of the, I think, doctors for like, how are you eating today?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Gerson
That
therapy.
don't sell the pills, man. That don't sell the pharmaceuticals.
Amen, brother. You know it.
Man.
Can't get
Yeah,
that
he's got a
commission
point.
check that way.
Exactly.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
cannabis
crazy.
products, man, they help. I mean, I had this ex-girlfriend, and she had a grandma who she had like she had, what do they call it, where you can't sleep or your legs like do
Insomnia?
Insomnia.
She
Yeah.
was like she had insomnia and like I don't know, like I don't know, what is it, walking something syndrome or whatever.
Oh, when you walk,
sleep
sleepwalking?
legless or sleep
Restless
legless.
leg
Restless leg
yeah,
syndrome. She had
sleepless leg.
restless leg syndrome
Yeah.
and insomnia, and she couldn't. She
Man.
just took all these medications, and they didn't work for her. They made her all this weird stuff happen to her. And I gave her like some like edibles and just some like little high power edibles, and she just like cut a little sliver off,
Yep.
and she tried those, and it just cured everything. She was against.
Mm.
She was against marijuana, everything.
Until
it's just
she had her own experience.
so
where it
their own
helped.
Yeah.
experience
That's a
changed
lot
it.
of it.
Yep.
Wow.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
it, I think.
It is.
And I mean, that was my first time seeing it, really help someone, because, I'd done it recreationally, but when, you see somebody that you care about in some aspect and it really affects them, it's there's no going back after that. You only
No.
have one
Yeah,
opinion of how
exactly.
it can be used. It's like,
And
I
that's
don't
kind of like after I realized that it could help people with like cancer, not just through, at first I was like, oh, it can just help them with chemotherapy treatment because with the nausea and all
Yeah.
that, right? But then you do more research, and the government has this on their own website even, that they've known that cannabinoids kill malignant cells and cancer cells without harming healthy cells.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and since the 70s they've known this information, but they don't care to like make it. They put it as a Schedule 1 drug, for crying out loud, with no medical value whatsoever. Which we all know that's not true. I mean,
Yeah, it's up there with like heroin and stuff, right?
yeah, exactly. Which honestly, heroin has medical value too, if you think about it, because it used to, if
Opioids.
you're somebody going to cut someone's leg off or something,
Mhm.
yeah, the whole opiate market
Yeah.
is like. What happened with allopathic medicine is that there was this thing called the Flexner Report, that the Rockefellers and the Carnegies hired this guy, Abraham Flexner, to go out and take a pharmacopoeia of all the different modalities of medicine out there, right? And this is at the time they had an even playing field, right? You're talking about homeopathy, naturopathy, osteopathic medicine, allopathic medicine, all these different modalities. So he went around the whole country. It took him 4 years. He went horse and buggy. They didn't have the highway, interstate highway system
Yeah.
then, and he collected this, brought the report back to the Rockefellers and the Carnegies, and he basically hashish and cannabis were the number one in the pharmacopoeia back then, for all these different modalities, and they wanted petrochemical synthetic drugs because they own monopolies on oil, on petroleum.
right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they wanted to synthesize natural compounds that from these, the plants that we were using in the pharmacopoeia, and synthesize them with a petrochemical base, which is harder for our bodies to process through our kidneys and our liver. And so, I mean, honestly, I'd rather have them have all drugs legal and regulated, like heroin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Instead of like OxyContin and oxycodone, but they can't patent a plant.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. They can't regulate
Unless
it.
it's genetically modified.
Yep.
So that's
Wow.
that's how GMOs even came to be, because you can't patent life, right? But they're like, well, we now we've genetically modified life in a laboratory, and they're even trying to like through other propaganda like hybridization, which is really just putting two plants next to one another.
Yeah.
That maybe wouldn't be next to together unless we put them there. But it's still nature doing its own thing. It's not like going into a lab and splicing genes into.
Wow.
Like back in the 90s, I remember a good example, and it didn't go through because it got a huge backlash. But they were trying to make a more frost-resistant tomato, so they took like the cold-resistant genes out of a flounder fish, right? And they were putting it into the tomato to make it more cold resistant.
That's why I don't like tomatoes. Fuck that.
No, the tomatoes like that you get in the grocery store are gross. But like the ones in my grandpa's garden growing up, I still go back to my grandma's house and my mom's garden now. But like those tomatoes are like, it's like tasting home. It's like you can eat those tomatoes like an apple, there's so much flavor, and that you don't get that in a store, right?
They're meant to be.
Yeah, exactly.
The nutritional value.
I've been trying to get locally grown stuff when it happens, when they have it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. It's just like, I don't know, man. It's like real vegetables and real fruit that you get.
And as Bryce was saying, like the flavor is just like that's great by itself, but the flavor is an indication of the nutritional value of the food. So it's like high bricks food. Most people haven't had like a 15 bricks tomato. They don't know what the heck that tastes like. But
I don't even know what that is. What's a
brick? So bricks is the scale they use to measure the sugars in a plant.
Oh,
right?
okay.
And that is an indication of the health of the plant.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So, as far as it goes with this cannabis, you're talking about all the uses and what can we do as individuals to kind of like help push that forward and help get change as far as the laws go and really open it up and give more of an understanding, because my mom to this day still doesn't understand why anybody would. She doesn't understand marijuana. She doesn't understand the benefits.
Right.
It's all about
There's a lot of propaganda
drawbacks
out there.
Yes, it's just propaganda, and my stepdad smokes, he smokes, I smoke,
but it's deep. That propaganda ran pretty deep in this country. It was heavily funded by the Rockefellers. Reefer Madness, which kind of was one of the beginning films of all that. If anybody watches that and has any experience with cannabis, knows that's complete propaganda.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Ridiculous.
You can watch it on YouTube now. It's a black and white film. It was funded by the Rockefellers. Again, they had the ulterior motives and stuff. So I think what we can do, to get back to your question, now basically is education. Education. We live in the information age,
right?
So it's so easily to get education now compared. You don't have to go to school or any like savings of money or you can go that route. But right now, just to educate our friends and family, which is like boots on the ground, kind of where we need to start. I did the same thing with my family. My grandma was against it, and everything. My mom and dad were all more open-minded. Actually, kind of a quick funny story. My mom's father, he was a truck driver, and my Aunt Pam, his daughter, was a hippie kind of, but she smoked pot. He didn't know about it. He found out, right? He's going to kick her out of the house. My grandfather and my dad were really good friends. He respected my dad a lot. They drove trucks together. They raced cars together. And then my dad found out he was going to kick my Aunt Pam out over this joint, and he's like, Frank, have you ever smoked in your life? Do you know what you're about to kick your daughter out of the house for? And he's like, no, I never touched that stuff, And he's like, well, before you kick your daughter out of the house and disown her, I think you should at least know from experience what you're talking about. So he's like, smoke this. Yeah, he gave him a joint, right? And he's like, Randy, you smoke weed? And he was like, yeah, I smoke it from time to time. He's like, it's not all that bad as you think it is, just try it. So he tried it, he smoked it, and needless to say, he liked it so much, he eventually became a grower.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Never kicked my aunt out.
It's like educating over propaganda, because if you give people propaganda, they could take it how they want it, whether us saying no or other people saying, yeah, what's going on with that? But if you educate people, they can take that and they can use that in their own terms. Like,
make their own decision.
Straight up.
Make an educated decision.
Telling you what it is, like, oh, this does this and this and this. Just if they know about it, they can understandable.
Yeah,
So
but
that
you
makes
know,
sense.
there's power in
Oh,
not
yeah.
educating the people.
Yeah, that's
you know,
part- that's
if
part
you
of the
don't
propaganda.
educate them, that's a
them
lot of
stupid.
Well,
power.
they've had the I mean, when the Nixon administration was going to they try to make it illegal in the beginning, but they didn't. In the 30s with Harry Anslinger, it was just a tax act, marijuana tax act of 1937. If you grew it or whatever, you got highly taxed. We had more rights back then,
Wow.
right? In 71, Nixon made it illegal, really, because they were targeting the hippies and the blacks and like any kind of
Or, yeah.
anti-war people, protesters. Because most of them smoked weed because they're open-minded, right? So they're like, we can't target them for their political beliefs.
We're gonna shut them down. We're gonna shut them up.
But we can put them in jail and shut them up through this whole weed thing.
Wow,
And
Lock
that's
them up.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's the government, bro.
And,
That's
so they
crazy.
had tests. So the Nixon administration, I forget what the name of he had scientists test this. They're trying to find it. It was bad. They were looking for that, but they came back the opposite. This isn't that bad. It's not. It doesn't need to be illegal. The Schaefer report or something. I forget what it's called. But he still said nope. We're making it illegal anyway because of that political agenda they had.
The war on drugs is still going too, isn't it?
Man.
It's still kind of going where they are. I mean, it's funny because we had a war on drugs for many years now. Really over 8 decades on cannabis, and this plant's winning.
That's crazy,
Sure
man.
is.
Yeah.
Sure is, man.
Yeah, man. It's
So-
like the people are taking it back, right?
Yeah,
They're
they
just
are
demanding it.
We made nature illegal.
Yeah.
That was, if you really
Damn.
boil it down to it, we made nature
Damn.
illegal. That
When
doesn't
you put
make
it like
sense.
that,
Holy
it's,
shit.
Yeah.
And we
Just
made
blew
our
my
own.
mind.
And people don't realize the economic. Not the environmental repercussions of that decision, because it's the second largest absorber of CO2 in the plant kingdom next to bamboo.
Really? I didn't know that.
What?
Second
That's a
largest.
huge
It's
problem.
And then we have a war on this, and then they're talking about the CO2 being an imbalance of. It's like, yeah, we're doing that by killing all the plant life.
That's the biggest
Yeah.
problem we have on this planet right now
The
is too much
CO2.
CO2.
Well, that's
You
what
know
they're
what?
saying. I don't trust what their solutions are, right? Because they create problems to put out solutions that we never would accept without the problem they put out, right?
Gotcha.
So, for example, with they're saying that it's completely this whole climate change thing, is completely agreed 100% or 99% with all the scientific community, right? But that's not necessarily true. If you start to look into it, there's a lot of scientists who don't agree with that we are the cause of it, that we're the primary cause of all this. I'm not saying that we need to clean up the pollution. There's a lot of, I'm not saying that,
Right.
But however, the greenhouse gases going up, it isn't just caused by our pollution. I mean, the rise of the heat and all this stuff, the sun and the moon have more of an effect on our weather than we do,
Right.
the rise of temperatures on other planets, which is happening right in our solar system, is not caused by our pollution. So
The sun's
Okay,
blowing
gotcha.
up.
the sun used to
be.
be yellow when I was growing up. It's white now if you pay attention.
So
Oh,
as
it's
far
white.
as
I didn't
as
know it
far
was
as it
yellow.
goes, as far as global warming goes, would it make sense? If we're leaving an imprint on that, and affecting it, how quickly are we affecting? How much would it be accelerating? You know what I mean?
well, there's
accelerating the process.
well, first of all, if you remember Al Gore, he was already saying that the ice caps would be completely melted off, which has not happened,
Yeah.
and stuff. So, and what was his solution, right? To tax people, tax and cap, and all this stuff. He wanted to tax us for breathing, for cow farts, all this stuff. It's like
Methane,
yeah, they just want more money for the government. Basically, that's their solutions, and that's
Yeah.
why I don't trust their solutions, because it's like anytime we give more money to the government.
We get it paid.
You talking
Yeah,
about money? Let's talk about that 6.4
Trillion
trillion
that the
they just
Pentagon lost.
they just
They just lost 6.4 trillion.
how does that happen?
How does that happen? That's going to black ops programs, probably the secret space program that we have and stuff. I mean,
Space Force.
again,
Man,
I'm not
who
saying
knows
that
what they
100%
got?
no. I don't know because I don't know, right? But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's highly plausible that if you think about technology and how fast it evolves, propulsion has not evolved since brute force rockets. Come on,
Yeah.
Well, or it's I think we have anti-gravity technology. We have free energy technology since Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla was trying to give us radiant energy, and we're still using his alternative current. his AC current that we plug it into right now. But he surpassed that in his own lifetime.
Yeah.
He was trying to give us wireless energy. Like, do we have wireless data being transferred to our phones right now? He invented radiant energy, which is wireless energy being all you need. You didn't even need a battery. You just need an antenna. So like all this stuff they're telling about electric cars now. I just read an article about electric cars being worse than diesel cars because they're mining of the lithium and everything for the batteries. Well, let's use radiant energy in electric cars, and we don't even need to do that mining.
You know what he did too? When he the guy for Tesla, when he came out with those blueprints and stuff for his cars, he was like, "We got to."
Talking about Elon. He's talking about Nikolai
Tesla. Tesla company, right?
Yeah, that's Tesla. That's a company now.
Yeah.
Nikolai Tesla was an inventor.
That Tesla was named after Nikola Tesla.
Right.
Oh, well, that's something I just learned.
All right, guys, we're actually running our time right now in the first half. So we'll just come back. We'll take a little 5-minute break, and we'll be right back, and then we can jump right back into it. Cool, guys?
Cool.
Awesome.
All right,
Sounds
we'll be right
good.
back, guys. Thanks.
All right.
Peace.
That's crazy.
That was tight.
Dropped so much knowledge on
He's the man. I told you.
Knowledge is now given. Hey man, I
was saying that zero gravity shit on the first episode, so you just came through with cabinet for me, bro.
Awesome. James, man, what you been listening to lately, James? Tell me.
Billie Eilish.
You're on the Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
You gonna stay 14 forever.
I love Billie Eilish. I'm just playing. I ain't about that.
What are you, like a depressed girl or something?
No, oh, thank you. That's really nice.
Lindsay
She
was
just-
talking smack
She
on her.
just speaks to me. No, I'm just playing. No, it's a different thing. You know what I mean? I haven't been listening to hip hop a lot recently, so I've just been like into other things. Listening to country all day because I'm in the shop with a bunch of country boys. But I have my headphones in and I'll listen to like Billie Eilish to Katy Perry. Got to get some more Lady Gaga, and then I'd be listening to some more hard shit. Every once in a while, I'll go back to like J.
Katy
Cole
Perry.
and shit like that.
Do
I
you
like
ever
Katy Perry.
feel like a plastic bag floating through the wind, wanting to start again?
Was that Firework?
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
I think so.
You're the one who listens to Katy Perry.
Well,
I
I'm
don't know.
not like a
Wasn't there a
diehard
movie with
fan.
that?
Live?
With
The interview.
The interview.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
man.
interview. That's it.
Yeah.
That movie's great.
He's like,
man.
you know
so
this song.
funny, dude.
No,
That's-
Dave, I do
yeah.
not know this song.
Can you believe that like they didn't even want to put that movie up? Kim Jong Un was like threatening them.
Bomb your
I
ass
know,
if you
I don't
don't
get-
do shit about
I
it.
thought it was hilarious.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you have a sense of
Yeah.
humor.
Some people
Come
get
on.
It's pretty funny.
Oh man, hey, Kim
Yeah.
Jong Un and Putin are having meetings apparently.
Those
so
are both
we'll
funny
see what's
names.
up, man.
Right?
You don't know what to believe out there, though. You
You
know.
have no idea.
How
what to believe.
serious is it? Oh, but hey, Russians are hacking our election, and
Right.
we're more concerned about the president, so that's cool. But anyways, all right, guys, we're gonna get back into
yeah,
part
the
2
camera's
of this. On this section, man, we're just gonna get weird. I want to talk
Weird.
about controversial black. We were talking about black budgets at the end of the last one. Black budgets, moon landings, man. Let's
Inner Earth, hollow inner Earth.
hollow inner Earth. I guess I haven't heard
Bryce
this
is
one.
pulling out all the hard, heavy artillery.
Let's start.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
gotta
from-
start somewhere.
Let's start from something everybody can understand. Let's talk about who here believes that we landed on the moon.
I believe we did.
You think we landed on
I
the
know.
moon?
Yeah, I believe we did.
Why do you think we
That's-
landed on the moon?
Because that, first of all, that's a pretty big thing to cover up. You know what I mean? That's like telling your mom you
Is
didn't
it,
get
though?
a dog, and then she's finding shit, and she's like, "Jimmy, why are you shitting in the house?" You know what I'm saying?
Is that a
was
hard-
a weird analogy?
mean- Hey,
That is a strange analogy. But
but do you understand what I'm saying?
No,
though?
I get exactly
There
what
you
you're
go.
saying.
As if I'm just
But why
talking
do
to
you
listen.
feel like? I mean, that's why you think we landed on
No,
the moon.
I ain't believe because you're shitting in the corner or anything. I personally believe because first of all, what is the point of lying about that? You know,
Because we wanted to beat the Russians, man.
it was a space
Yeah.
race at the time.
Oh, I
And
know about
honestly, I feel like both. Like, why not both? Because if we're having that space race, they want to cover
Yeah.
up the technology,
Yeah.
right? But yet they want to like show everybody that we're going to the moon,
and why didn't you record
right?
it? If
But they don't
yeah.
want the technology to come out. So that's one again, I don't say I have any set belief on this.
Yeah.
But it's all plausible,
Yeah.
And it is plausible that one of the things that I was watching, they said that Stanley Kubrick filmed
Oh yeah.
the Apollo 11 moon landings, and that 2011 was a test run for that, for what they call front screen projection. Was the film technique that was used, because that's the technique he used on 2001. And then if you watch like the Apollo, they say still to this day, if you go to NASA and you're given an eye for front screen projection, you can pick out the line between the stage and the back screen.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So so that's very plausible if you think about it. Like if you watch, if I'm a kind of a Kubrick fan, I like Stanley's work a lot.
He's great. Yeah.
Did you ever watch The Shining?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
amazing,
Okay.
man.
So I think The Shining was kind of a he used it as a vehicle to explain the situation he got himself in with the moon landing thing, because when he did Doctor Strangelove, he wanted permission to go inside B-52s, and the government was like, no way, because you're making a spoof and making fun of us, basically,
Wow.
about war and all that, and so but then all of a sudden 2001 he's got like access to NASA's best like those lenses and everything, and all this like a huge budget for it. There's another kind of a conspiracy theory talking about that the reason why he renamed it about 2001 from, I forget the original name of the movie, but he found out something about the 9/11 that was supposed to happen, that big event in 2001, as a catalyst. They had planned since the beginning of that building that they possibly actually built explosives into the Trade Center at its construction.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, and there was actually
I've heard stuff about that.
I've been
Get
researching
Smart.
too.
I've heard that too.
You know who
yeah.
Mel Brooks is? Did like a bunch of he's a director, writer, a bunch of like Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs.
know the name and Spaceballs.
Yeah,
I know
okay.
Spaceballs.
Like a spook
Well,
thing.
he also did Get Smart episodes, and there was one, I forget the name of it, but there was one where they were building the buildings. Chaos was building these buildings with the explosives built into them, and the building was something to do with the moon too, as well. So supposedly Mel Brooks and Stanley Kubrick were good friends, which they lived in the Village together in New York.
Wow.
And they found out some information together, and he put it in the Get Smart episode, and he renamed his movie 2001. That's the conspiracy theory with that.
I've never seen that movie.
No.
Is it?
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Yeah, I would check it out. It's interesting. That movie was pretty much just like I said, test grounds for the Apollo 11 moon landing. And then the Shining movie, go back to that. There's a scene in it when the little boy who has the shining ability, I forget the character's name, but he was on he's in
I
the
think
rug.
it's Danny.
Danny, yes, yeah, you're right. He's in the rug playing with like some trucks and some cars, right? And if you look at the pattern on the carpet, it looks like a launch pad, right?
Really?
Yeah. Guess what sweater Danny has on?
Get out of here.
Apollo 11. Right?
Yes, Apollo 11. Stanley Kubrick was fanatical for making sure
Really?
everything in
Wow.
his movies there was a point for it.
Wow.
Well, he
That's
holds
some
like the
deep
record
shit.
for that one scene, right? Like the most takes that they had done. I'm pretty sure he holds the record for like the highest amount of takes.
I didn't know that, but
Recorded.
I would believe it.
It's the scene. Like, what's the female actor's name in that movie?
Shelley
Shelley
Duvall.
Yeah.
Shelley Duvall. Apparently, Stanley Kubrick like wasn't getting the reaction out of her. I guess he like didn't like her on the set. Like nobody liked her really. Like he made everybody hate Shelley Duvall while they were
Really?
on set.
Huh.
Yeah, I looked into this. He made everybody like look down on her. So she looked the way she looked in the movie. Like he wanted her to
felt
be
it.
convincing.
Terrified.
And I think it was like 67 takes is what they did of
Wow.
that one scene where Jack Nicholson's like walking up the steps like talking about how he's gonna like bash her skull in or
Right,
whatever.
right.
And like he just wasn't convinced by her. So at the end of like 67 takes of that, she was scared of Stanley Kubrick at the end of filming it. When they got it right, he was like, okay, now I believe you. And it was because she was actually scared of him,
Yeah.
screaming
Okay.
at her and threatening her the whole time. But that really
There's
goes
some
to
other
show
things too
him.
about that movie. So it's a Stephen King novel, right? that
Yeah.
they adopted into the film. So right away, there's like differences, and Stephen King even knows that he kind of used that as a different vehicle to say something than what his book was doing, right?
Yeah.
And then one of the things in the scenes was pretty much I guess a message to Stephen King. It was like they're in the book. It's a red Volkswagen Beetle that's in the opening scenes. Well, Stanley made it a yellow one, but then later on, there's a red Volkswagen Beetle that was smashed by a semi on the side of the road, basically saying, "This is my vehicle, not your vehicle."
Damn.
Wow.
You know, and then there's all the kinds of other scenes too in it that are incongruities from the book. You know, so
really
like 237, the room 237.
Yeah, they changed the numbers. Well, that's supposed to be
really
because the moon is like 237,000 miles away from us.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, so it was actually like room one.
They had
something.
Totally
I'm watching that
different-
movie again.
And also, like, he goes in that room, he never talks about it, which Stanley filmed the Apollo 11 moon landing and never could talk about it, right? Shelley Duvall's character was supposedly really like supposed to be his wife, right? And both the little boy and Jack were both supposed to be Stanley. Right, really,
wow.
And the film, and like with the struggles that he had to go through, the one I guess also something that was different was that the black guy who also had the shining and ability that was talking to Danny, he gets killed in the movie, and I guess he doesn't, or I don't even know if his character's in the book. I forget the difference,
I'm
but
not sure.
Basically, that character was supposed to represent, from what I understand, the one person that Stanley did tell that was close to him that he did the Apollo 11 moon landing, I guess, was killed.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that theory a million times about Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
But that's only from watching like movies and kind of looking into him as a director. He was very, very particular. He was like the most particular director that's ever lived.
Yeah, and he also had a deal, from what I heard, that like that no other director had in Hollywood, that they could not change his movies. They couldn't edit it, anything.
Really?
Right. So because he did this Apollo 11 thing, that was one of his things, except for one movie, his last one, Eyes Wide Shut.
They took like 20-some minutes out of that, didn't they?
That's the only movie they ever edited. And that was, if you watch that movie, it's about his like experience with the Rothschild family and like all these like
crazy movie.
Banking cartel family people that are into these secret societies and do all these, hidden occult type of like, ritual parties.
I think I heard somewhere that they like clipped out one of the ritual scenes or something. They like clipped it out, or they like put a different one in.
The only movie who was ever edited of his was that movie. And
really?
He died 5 days after giving it to Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I heard that too. I heard that as soon as the movie came out, they were like,
weird about that.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, he died of natural causes in his sleep, but there's drugs that can induce that kind of thing. And again, they're spinning that over a propaganda machine, the media that they own. 5 corporations own all our mainstream media. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
What are they?
What are
the corporations?
I would have to. I mean, I know it's like Viacom and Disney, but I forget how the mergers all happened and who's now that name. You know what I'm saying? You can Google it, but when I learned that when I went to school for computer animation, and I was like learning it because I kind of wanted to when I was younger, I was like, I always like computers and I like art. Kind of made sense I wanted to make my own video games and movies and stuff, after I started getting into that, I was like, well, they're trying to train you to work for like Disney in a cubicle, and I'm like, that's not me, man. Like working for some $15 an hour in a cubicle.
Yeah.
So
Your ideas,
yeah, exactly. But at the same time, you start to get towards. I was getting into a school, and they want you to go pitch to like Film Roman, who makes The Simpsons, and like Disney, and all these people, and it's like that's when I started to realize like there's only 5 corporations that control all this, from billboards to like your magazines, your newspapers, your TV, of course Hollywood. I mean, 5 corporations. Think about that. So like
mega hierarchies, man.
Who owns those corporations? It's like basically you're only getting an opinion from the people who own those media outlets.
Yep.
That's the only opinion you were ever getting, and they don't put their own names in it. Like how many times we ever hear about the Rockefellers or the Rothschilds or the Morgans or the Mellons or the Warburgs?
Never.
And when I talk to people about conspiracies, they're always like, "Oh, who's they?"
Yeah,
they. I start busting out some names. They're like, "Oh, I didn't think about those guys."
They're like the unspoken few. They are. They really are, man. I feel like when people start bringing up those names with conspiracy theories, then you're like, okay, well, maybe we're getting into something here. You know what I mean? Because it is pretty believable. You know what I'm saying?
It's plausible. Again, I'm not saying I believe any of this stuff, and honestly, I'm really grateful for my curiosity that goes into the conspiracy stuff, because that led me into more of the more conscious, expanding ascension type of stuff. Eventually, one day I Googled the question, what do the Rothschilds teach their children? You know, I was just curious what the elites taught their children. They're not getting the same education that we're getting, obviously.
Of
course.
You know?
Homeschooled.
So you know what popped up for some reason? Sacred geometry. I have no idea why that was the answer to that question. Yeah, but
That's
it was.
awesome.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is?
Sacred geometry basically is the study of form and shape as the universal language. Most people think math is, but it's like, you know, shape and form. Math is like the written language of shape and form.
But we had shapes and forms before math, though, too.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, that's when sacred geometry is like there's symbology. Basically, it's ways to like communicate without words. You know, like symbols, like, you know, pictures are worth 1,000 words. Well, symbols are pictures basically, but they have even deeper meanings than that. Even.
So sacred geometry? Could you kind of explain like what a symbol of that? Like an example of it?
First we'll go into the most popular one, which is the flower of life. Like, for example, most people know what the flower of life is. It's very beautiful, and it's only created with a compass, right? You need one tool, and it's just circles, right? And like basically, there's the flower of life.
Look it up right now.
Dude, it's awesome.
These symbols have deeper meanings than just being pictures, right? So like the first circle that you make with it represents the void, right? Where like they say that, okay, this is a good quote.
Okay, yeah.
They say that sacred geometry is basically,
Say it right?
Yeah, that's it right there. Excellent. So like if you were to draw that first circle, right? The first circle is with a compass. You just draw one circle, and then you pick on anywhere in that next circle, and you put the point of the compass down on that, and you draw another circle, and now you have two circles with like an I shape in the middle. Right, that's called the Vescus Pisces. That's the finished result you're looking at right now, right? This is the first two circles. Now, if you go into, they say it's the primary geometric generator of all physical form in existence.
Yep.
That's what the flower of life is.
And it goes into the seed of life and the tree of life.
Yeah, the seed of life is before that one.
Right.
You would draw it before.
Names. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the tree of life. Most people have heard of the tree of life, you know, and but it's represented differently in sacred geometry. So when we're saying the first circle, if it's the primary geometric generator of all physical form in existence. Now, how is that? Okay, so let's use human beings as an example. Okay. How do we start off? We start off as an egg, right, which is a sphere. That's a two-dimensional representation of that sphere, that first circle, right? That's also being in the void at that stage, because there's no life yet, right? It's just dark. Right, so you're in that circle, and then life decides. You know, you could say the egg gets fertilized, and it starts to go through the whole cell division, and when the next shape it makes is that like double the same thing. When you draw that second circle two-dimensionally, three-dimensionally with two spheres now, right, and it starts to form out just like that. You know, that's like a human.
Really?
Know? Yeah. Like, so
it's like a picture drawn of how life was created, and that's why they call it, you know, the seed of life, the tree of life, and all that.
Sacred.
Because it kind of puts it in a picture, showing in like a weird mathematical term. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then it goes and there's math.
Yeah.
And then also the other thing, that when you do that second that second circle, it creates that I shape in the middle between the two circles. Let there be light. Right.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot. I'm telling you, sacred geometry is pretty interesting stuff, because there's all this philosophy behind the forms, you know, that coincide with it. And then there's for my symbol, my company's like logo, if you will.
I've seen that. I noticed.
Yeah,
that.
it's a 64-point star tetrahedron, right? Which are you familiar with the star tetrahedron?
I wasn't even familiar with sacred geometry.
Okay,
I'm learning right now.
Well, so most people are familiar with the Star of David.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a two-dimensional representation of a star tetrahedron.
Okay.
Star tetrahedrons basically, think of two pyramids interlocked at the middle, right? One upside down pyramid and one right side up, and it's interlocked, right? That's a star tetrahedron, single one.
Okay.
All right. Now that shape is supposedly the shape of what they call our Merkaba. Are you guys familiar with a Merkaba?
Never heard of a Merkaba.
No, what is that?
It's three words pushed together, Merkaba, Merkaba, right? And that basically means human light body, right? So the human light body is the vehicle of ascended masters, right? It's an interdimensional time-space vehicle that so like any alien that's traveling around in a physical vehicle like that, they're not an ascended master. They might be more technologically advanced, but they're not spiritually advanced enough to travel through their Merkaba.
Wow.
So one more time, what is a Merkaba again?
It's an interdimensional time-space vehicle for ascended masters. So once you ascend yourself into the higher planes of existence, then you're able to activate your Merkaba.
So how do you ascend yourself into a higher plane of existence?
Jesus is an ascended
He's an
master.
ascended master. Buddha, like there's tons of ascended masters throughout. Thoth is another one that not too many people are familiar with Thoth. You might know because I noticed you have Anubis on your ring.
Yeah, Thoth is Thoth. I've been reading up on it a lot, but Thoth is the Egyptian god of knowledge.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. And he gave us writing.
Yep, in the language that we could speak through.
He built the
a bunch of
pyramids.
Different. I did not know that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to-
he's an
Really?
ascended
Not there
master.
yet, bro.
He's called the thrice god. He was a human at one time, and he ascended himself back in Atlantean times. And he was like an ascended master for Atlantean times, and he was also they call him the thrice god because then he was Thoth in Egyptian times, and then he was Hermes in Greece,
Oh
ancient
wow.
Greece.
Oh,
Huh.
Hermes. Yeah.
He's the
You know,
same
there was-
person. It's the same person.
Wow.
When I
So
was
it's
looking
a
up his name-
spiritual. It's a spiritual ascension, then, right? That's
Oh,
what you're saying.
ascension, and this is my understanding of it, is basically there's like there's three different ways to get into the higher planes of existence. From what I was told by Drumbulo Melchizedek, who wrote like the book on sacred geometry, is one of the most knowledgeable people on the subject. He has his books, the Secret Language of the Flower of Life,
He
volumes
gives
1 and 2.
workshops here in Sedona too.
Yeah, he does. He's a Cornville resident. Also.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
from Sedona. Hmm.
I used to take care of him at the dispensary.
Yeah, I've been in a couple
Wow.
of his workshops and stuff. So he said that there's death, there's ascension, and there's resurrection. That's the three ways to get into the higher planes of existence. The problem is with death is that most people still have their fear. Now, if you go to the ancient Egypt mystery schools, which is again where Jesus came out of, like he came out of that knowledge. He was kind of like the Bruce Lee of spirituality, really.
Mm.
He came from like
That's
because
awesome.
Bruce Lee was like he learned a lot of different martial arts, right? Well, Jesus learned a lot of different types of spirituality, right? And he came out of the ancient Egypt mystery schools. He learned Hindu, Buddhism. But if you look at the from what I was taught, the monks in Tibet said that Jesus was there, and that's written in their
Really?
yeah, two things. Like I'm a good
Wow,
friend
that's
with a
crazy.
person, Dr. Stephen Harefield, who spent 7 years in Tibet, and he broke the 7 seals, and he's written 2 books. One is the metaphysical interpretations of the Bible. Another one is the 12 sacred principles of karma, which was taught to him in Tibet, right? And they're both bestsellers on Amazon. I highly encourage you to
There
check
you
them
go.
out.
What are those
buddy.
called? Let me write those.
Yeah,
down.
Yeah,
you
the
better write
12
those
sacred
down.
principles of karma. And the other one's huge. It's a big book. That one's not so big. It's a very easy read. Those are the things, the principles that he was taught in Tibet about karma, right? And then
That sounds
another one
great.
is called the
Yeah.
metaphysical interpretations of the Bible. But anyway,
That sounds awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're good books. I forgot why I mentioned Stephen Harefield though. I bring him up.
That's what
Besides being-
happens, bro.
I
That's
know
what
we
happens.
start getting off on tangents.
So you were talking about Jesus and the Buddhist.
Oh yeah,
and
well,
how
so
he-
he's the one that taught me that, and I kind of like cross-referenced it, and I found out with the Tibetan monks. He said 2 things about monks too: they're meticulous record keepers, and they understand the karmic repercussions of lying.
So
Yeah.
they that's like the footprint of like why would they lie about Jesus?
why would they
going
lie?
there?
And they
Yeah.
called him Issa there, I guess. That's his name pronounced in their language.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but they said that he spent time there, and Stephen said I was meditated in a cave that he supposedly meditated in, and all that stuff, And he's like, I learned how to read Sanskrit there, and I read the records myself that he was there, So there was a man, Yeshua ben Joseph, that took on this moniker as Jesus Christ, and we put him on a pedestal, made him like a living God. I think he was an ascended master. I don't think he was
Wow.
the first. I don't think he was the last. He's obviously an important one. We renamed the timeline after him.
Yeah, that's pretty important for
Yeah.
sure.
But I think with the modern church has taken his teachings and twisted it for control purposes. Yeah,
because
religion.
before there was no religion.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about that before too on our other podcast.
Yeah.
It was just what is.
It's a control matrix.
But that's a cool thing that I didn't even think about, with those ascendants. That's very, very interesting. You know what I mean?
hmm
That's crazy because there's a lot of things like I was born a Christian and all that, but I mean, there's a lot of things that like make sense, like no matter where you read it from, like with the
Mhm.
Egyptian things and how did they get their pyramids lined up, and you know what I mean. So it's
I
a
know
very
we
good
can't even
point,
build a
man.
pyramid today.
Oh,
We
Like,
can't
yeah,
even do it
right.
now.
we
So
can't
I
even
mean,
do it with our biggest, baddest cranes. We can't even build a
I
pyramid.
want to
today.
ask you about something because I don't know, man. I'm really interested in this kind of stuff. But you like Graham Hancock?
Oh, I love him. Yeah,
I
he's
love
great.
Graham
Yeah,
Hancock,
yeah.
man.
Mhm.
He's incredible. I actually picked up.
Fingerprint of the Gods.
I've
great
got
book.
Fingerprints of the Gods. I haven't started. I think I read like
He's
the
got a
first
new
chapter.
one, right? You have the new one.
He has a brand new one too. I think he
Yeah.
just put out, and then he put out Magicians of the Gods like a few years ago.
Yes.
I think so. You know, he's but those are kind of, you know, you got to really dive into those. You got to really take them you know, head
The
on.
Pyramid Code. Have you watched that?
No.
He's in it, and there's a bunch of others, his peers, that believe all these alternative, believe, because mainstream archaeology doesn't accept that the pyramids are, you know, anything more than a tomb.
Right.
Which
Wow.
they never found
Wow.
one mummy in there. You know, you think they'd find a mummy in there if they're going to call it a tomb. They have
Yeah.
a sarcophagus, but the sarcophagus was in the Great Pyramid. It was used more than likely, from what I was taught, was a vehicle of ascension itself.
Like
You
King,
know,
Really?
like King,
Okay.
King Tut's tomb, or what?
No, that's a
what are you talking-
different area. That's not in
Yeah.
the pyramids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're talking about the three pyramids.
Oh,
you
right,
know.
right, right, right.
The Great
The
Pyramid.
Great
Yeah,
Pyramid
yeah.
had a
I thought-
sarcophagus in it, but there was no mummy ever, you know, in there. And there's like, oh, it got taken out,
Wasn't
it
it
got
robbed?
plundered, it got robbed or whatever.
What wasn't it Ra's sarcophagus though that he would rise up out of every night or every day and
But I think there is some kind of stuff
go
attributed
across
to that
the sky
too.
like
Yeah.
the sun, like do the whole
He
battle.
was not the only one though. Like anybody who like, they moved the sarcophagus because people would have like paranormal experiences when they would go in there, when they would visit it. You know, like people would like go in there and disappear and come back in another part of the pyramid and stuff. You know, like
Wow.
yeah, like going between the veils of dimensions or something. I don't know what the heck was going on, but you know, something weird was going on. There was also weird stuff happening in the bottom of what they called the well area of the Great Pyramid, where like again, I think that area is more energetic than matter, where when things are more energy we can manifest faster. So people, if you don't have your fears under control, if you don't like, you know, lose your fear, you're going to manifest your fear.
Oh
right?
wow. There, I'm telling you, you're getting the thug life this time. That needs to be something we do every podcast. Is drop the thug life thing with the little joint and the glasses. I'm telling you, and then he just earned it right there.
Oh, that's
Earned it
nice.
right there. Yeah, I mean,
He
yeah.
didn't have that shrug that Bryce had though. Where he's like, you know, so like,
Yeah, man, it's great. Yeah, as far as man, Graham Hancock has really opened my mind. You know, and he kind of sounds like, to somebody who's used to, you know, mainstream science, and when you listen to somebody like him, at first it could seem kind of like this guy's kind of crazy, but you start listening to him, and he got with Randall Carlson. You know Randall Carlson.
I'm not familiar with that, John.
Yeah, he's the one he's working with now. He's a I think he's an archaeologist or something like that now, but he understands like how land masses work, and now they're trying to prove that great flood happened over the continental United States,
Okay.
or over the, you know, North
I mean, it
America.
looks like Sedona was underwater at one time. to
It
me.
does.
It does,
When
yeah.
I'm on the mountains in Sedona, I always
You
think
see
about that.
Don't you ever find seashells? I find seashells on
Oh,
the
yeah.
trails.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
I guess I'm not looking hard enough.
Yeah,
But
check
no,
it
I haven't
out,
seen
man.
any, but I'm sure I'll find one now.
Yeah, and
You
then
guys
not to
pointed
mention
out.
the rocks themselves look all smooth and stuff, like
Yeah.
by water, not by wind.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, they get deep. You know, the two of those guys go real deep. But they talk about like Atlantis a little bit. They kind of, you know, run right over the surface. But that's like something that a lot of cultures have ingrained into their history, right? Is
Yeah.
talk of
Including ours, if you go back to Plato, because Plato was the one that first like that.
yeah,
Was where he was the one that used to talk about Atlantis that really kind of carried over into modern society even today.
yeah,
You know, so he's really the source for us. You know, but obviously there's other sources out there, and where things keep getting older, as Graham Hancock likes to say.
yeah.
You know, we keep finding things on this planet that are keep getting like, you know, they just found a hammer in like million-year-old rock or something. I forget how many millions of years old this rock was. They found a hammer in it.
It was in the amber, right?
Oh no, it was in a stone.
Was it?
It was encased in stone. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But then you have like I can never say that word.
Göbekli Tepe.
Yes, thank you for saying
Yeah.
that. That's a tongue twister for me. I always have a problem with that one. But yeah, that place is super old too, and that was intentionally buried. They say that's
12,000 years old, and that's
They said the sand is like imported. They intentionally buried that place. Like so, like all these places are on like ley lines of the Earth, like which are the electromagnetic lines of the Earth that like intersect. Where they intersect is where like these sacred sites are at.
Wow.
You know, like the pyramid. The pyramid is actually
conscious grid.
Yeah, the pyramids, the Great Pyramids in Egypt, are actually the exact center of all of the landmass of the Earth.
Really?
Yeah, the exact center of it. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Now
Man.
you're telling me that us humans that we can't even build a pyramid today. You're telling me that we were intelligent enough to do that before.
Exactly.
Yes.
How would you? We didn't have the technology.
It's proof, man. They're sitting there.
But when people hear this, though, they're gonna be like, "You're crazy. These guys are crazy." But education. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, like, I mean, we're only taught so far back in that education. Like, they don't really go into those deep histories. Like, you got to go to other cultures, like the Maya, you know, one of my favorites. But there's not the only one. The Greeks had all these, like, you know, that's the ones where we were mainly taught in school. You had, like, the Iron Age and the Silver Age and the Golden Age and stuff. Those are large cycles of time that they were measuring. But, like, the most accurate calendar still ever made by mankind today are the Mayans. You know, they had the most accurate calendar systems. And they were, you know, if you think about it, what is our calendar measuring, right? Well, let me ask you this question. You know, what is the biggest dogma in the world? Do you guys know what dogma means, really?
Yeah, it means something that is told that is not entirely true, but it's over
like ideology,
unquestioned belief.
Yes,
it means unquestioned belief, right? So, what do you think is the biggest unquestioned belief in the world? What's the biggest dogma in the world?
That life humans started 12,000 years ago.
That we're gonna
or
everyone take a guess. That was a good guess.
My guess is that we die, or that we were born, that we live, that we die and go to heaven. That's probably what Christianity. I guess.
What do you think, guys?
What's the
biggest dogma in the world? What's the biggest unquestioned belief that we have as a society? The whole world.
Where are we going?
Okay. What do you think?
That we're on this Earth in the middle of space.
So it's our calendar. The biggest dogma in the world that we all go by every day is our calendar system, right? Like every computer is programmed with the same calendar system. You think about it, like every culture, they all go by the Gregorian calendar. That did not go down easily. Okay, a lot of people died over that. Like other cultures had a lot of different better calendar systems than the Gregorian calendar that has a leap year. Can't even accurately measure the Earth's physical rotation around the sun, right? Because that's basically what we're measuring, right? Like like if you look at time,
you look confused,
bro. My mind's blown right now. I got so many questions, but it's like connecting. Bro.
If you look at time, like what is time, right? So you look in the dictionary. What's the definition? Time is the physical measurement of objects in space, right? So like we're measuring the Earth, we're going around the sun. Okay, so the Mayans measured 23. That we know of different astrological phenomenon. They didn't just measure the Earth going around the sun. That was their Hob calendar. They understood that. They mainly used it for taxes. Okay.
With the sundials? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like not just the sundials. They had like their I forget the name of that stone. It goes back when the scientists figured out their math and like how to like their calendar system goes back 16.3 billion years ago, right? If you ask Siri right now how old's the universe, she's going to say like 14 some billion. Right. So 10 years ago, she was saying like 12 billion, you know, and then before that 10, and then before that, you know, so as things keep getting older, as we find them like Hubble and stuff, I guarantee if it probably, because they had the most accurate calendar system, they're still predicting astrological phenomenon to this day more accurately than we are. You know, I mean, that's crazy that they can do that. Their math system was more advanced than ours too.
That
even
says
though
a lot.
They used dots and slashes. Theirs was based on 20s, and ours is based on 10. Their math system.
They weren't getting fluoride pumped into their water system either.
No, they weren't getting that, and they were probably no. That's fluoride is definitely that's one of the things that kind of I think when I first got rid of that brain fog, you know, because like when I watched this thing it was on the news, but it was on like on the internet, and so it wasn't like widely publicized. I don't think they probably suppressed it, but you know, the guy was like, you know, talking about toothpaste and that sodium fluoride is toxic and it's highly poisonous. And he's like, if you don't believe me, he's like, go to your medicine cabinet and look and see if there's a poison control warning on your toothpaste. I'm like, no way would our own government let a product like toothpaste that we come in contact with every day, and let us brush our teeth with poison. No way. So I went to it. I looked at it. I had Crest. If you swallow more than a pea-size amount, contact Poison Control Center immediately.
It says that on the
read your toothpaste.
Baby,
it has.
Oh
they'll all have a little bit different wording, but that was what Crest said back when I read it.
You know,
wow.
You know how much toothpaste I use, bro?
And how much do we swallow every day?
You know how much they put on the commercials? They put like a whole
They make it taste good.
They make that cool little swirl.
What's the alternative to?
Well, they could just get toothpaste without poison control
Oh,
warnings.
is this what we
You
get
know,
to
like
talk
that
about?
doesn't have
Oil.
sodium fluoride in it. That's the reason why. That's
Okay.
that's the ingredient the main reason why that's on there, right?
Okay.
So I looked into it. I was like, why did that happen? Okay, so who spearheaded the program for the fluoridation of America? It was his name was he was Sigmund Freud's nephew, Edward. I'm going to draw a blank on his name. But he spearheaded the program of fluoridation. He's Sigmund Freud's nephew. They call him the father of propaganda, the father of spin, right? Edward Bernays, that's his name. So, and then he also, I'm pretty sure he was brought in with like Operation Paperclip too, which was all the other Nazis and stuff. They came over for the space program. That's the same time they started to fluoridate our waters, right? And he said, before I begin my propaganda campaign on America, I first need to fluoridate the water. Right, because then guess where they used sodium fluoride on large populations before this, in Nazi concentration camps and Russian gulags. And then why did they use it? Because it makes people more docile. It makes them sterile, you know. And like fluorosis, you get older, you have fluorosis, you fall down, you break a hip. It does make bones more dense, but more like China.
And
it puts big air pockets in your bone too, even though it's more harder. So when you fall down, when you're older and you have fluoride built up into your bones, because that's where it builds up.
Wow, really?
Yeah, the toxicity builds up.
Is that why when we get older we just lose our teeth? Is because we got that when we're using toothpaste this whole time, man? I mean,
bad. I mean, it's probably that would be one of the things. But think about how many different poisons and toxins that cosmetics are huge. Deodorant, right? Antiperspirants are horrible. It's aluminum to block the pores, to block your pores, dude.
From breathing,
right? From breathing and all that type of stuff, you know. It's better to just use a good deodorant, you know. But your body has to, like, when you first stop to using antiperspirants, I'm gonna let you know right now, if you're gonna quit and try this, you're gonna smell for a little bit, just because your body it's getting out toxins. It's been caked up with toxins for so long there, you know, so it needs to flush out. And then once you regulate your system, you won't smell like that anymore. You won't smell like the BO or anything. But it might be a little problem adjusting. So,
is that probably why it does smell? You know what I mean? Like that.
That's one of the areas that you sweat the most. It's supposed to get out toxins. Your body's getting out toxins through sweat.
And that's why when you work harder and harder and you sweat harder, it goes through that deodorant, because it's just like coming out.
It causes not only cancer but Alzheimer's disease. Aluminum builds up.
I read that. Yeah, I saw that online. Well, guys, I don't want to have to cut it off, because we're gonna have you come back, man. We're gonna have you come back, and we're gonna have to do.
You should write a book, bro.
I'm trying to. I'm trying to write a book on hemp next.
We're coming back, and we're doing a 2-hour one right here, okay, with Brandon. So, all right, guys. Yeah, we're running on our time right now, but this has been an awesome experience.
Crazy.
It's been great
Very
having you on here.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you so
You
much.
came and you just preached knowledge at us, and that's awesome, man. That's what this is about. Is about learning and growth
It's like
for
a
us.
sponge.
And everybody wants
Absorbing
to hear it,
over
so.
here like a sponge.
I hope you guys make some more. Bryce has been we have conversations and he'll write a song. I'm like, we just talked about that.
Yeah, no, he'll absorb it, man. He takes
he's
it
good
and
with
pours
that.
it in.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's good. You're just coming in and just kind of sharing your energy with everybody else. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
So
Thank you. I appreciate
thank you for
guys.
being here, man.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're gonna sign off.
Have a
Take
good
it
one.
easy. Have a good night.
You too.
Laters.
Down to earth so I can help you get the job done. Facilitate the